Welcome back to Anime Recap, anime fans. Today, we're recapping Mysterious Girlfriend X. This anime opens on Akira Tsubaki, a teenage boy waking up to his loud alarm clock. He rushes out to the kitchen where he's greeted by his older sister, who hands him his lunch and rushes him out the door so he isn't late. Tsubaki gets to school in a good mood and meets up with his friends. Once seated in class 2A, he begins talking to Ueno, his best friend. The teacher interrupts them with an announcement and introduces a new transfer student to the class. The teacher writes her name on the board and beckons the new girl to come and introduce herself. Tsubaki and Ueno are distracted, but Mikato Urabe's entrance into the class gets their attention. Mikato Urabe stands in front of the class in her uniform, her short dark hair nearly covering her entire face. The teacher introduces her to the entire class, but she doesn't reply or show her face. After her introduction, she takes the only empty seat next to Tsubaki. He smiles at her and introduces himself, but Urabe still doesn't speak. At lunch, Tsubaki and all the other school kids are having fun and messing around, but Urabe is face down sleeping on her desk. Some girls wake her up and invite her to join them so they can learn more about her. Urabe briefly lifts her head to politely ask them to leave her alone, then slams it back down and goes back to sleep, much to the other girls' surprise. Everyone begins to suspect that Urabe might be a little strange. Later on that day, Urabe burst out laughing in the middle of a lesson. The teacher tells her to calm down, but she doesn't seem all that bothered by her own weird outburst. The other students, however, have deemed her a freak and begin treating her like one. The days go on and Urabe keeps sleeping during any chance she gets. Because of this, she hasn't made any friends or really talked to anyone at all. One night, Tsubaki is at the school later than usual because he forgot something. When he gets back to his classroom, he is shocked to find Urabe still asleep on her desk. He gently wakes her since he's worried about her. When she lifts her head, her hair falls back and Tsubaki is finally able to see her pretty face. He thinks she's gorgeous, even with drool on her chin. Urabe leaves, and Tsubaki notices a small pool of drool left on her desk. He doesn't really understand the urge himself, but he can't stop himself from dipping his finger in her drool and tasting it, surprised at how sweet it is. He shakes himself out of it and heads back home. As he falls asleep that night, he thinks of Urabe and has a romantic dream about the two of them dancing on rooftops and being in a relationship. A few days later, Tsubaki faints during gym class. He has a fever and the nurse sends him home. He doesn't return to school for a few days as his fever won't go away and he is still sick. His teacher lets everyone know that Tsubaki will be absent for some time. That night, Urabe shows up to Tsubaki's house, claiming she has notes and homework to give him from the classes he has been missing. Tsubaki jolts up in bed, surprised to see Urabe in his room. He's even more shocked when she sits down next to him on his bed, apparently not worried at all about catching whatever he has. Urabe looks at him and asks him if he tasted her drool when he caught her sleeping a few days ago. Tsubaki is embarrassed but admits to tasting her drool. Her hair parts and she peeks at him with one eye. She quickly yanks down Tsubaki's mask, grabs some drool from her own mouth, and sticks her drool-covered finger into Tsubaki's open mouth. Tsubaki is shocked when he realizes that his fever has completely disappeared. Urabe begins laughing hysterically again and then explains that Tsubaki has come down with some sort of love sickness. He had such a bad fever because he was having withdrawals from tasting her saliva. Tsubaki can't believe it. The next day, Urabe is waiting for Tsubaki after school. They walk home together and Urabe gives him another finger full of drool. They continue doing this every day and Tsubaki doesn't get lovesick any longer. Tsubaki keeps dreaming about Urabe every night. One day on their walk home, Tsubaki works up the nerve to ask Urabe to be his girlfriend. She has doubts that he really loves her, so he opens his wallet to reveal a photograph of a girl he's had a crush on for years. He rips it into pieces and lets them all fly away. Urabe accepts that Tsubaki really cares about her and agrees to be his girlfriend. She also lets him in on the secret of what she was laughing at the other day. Apparently, the voices in her head told her that Tsubaki was going to be the first boy she sleeps with. In class, some of the guys are rating all of the girls in class. They all give Urabe a 0, but Tsubaki makes her the highest of all the girls. He quickly scribbles over it so none of the other boys can see, but keeps staring at Urabe, clearly obsessed with her. Later on, Tsubaki asks his friend Ueno for girl advice. Ueno gets suspicious and keeps asking Tsubaki if he has a girlfriend. But Tsubaki keeps denying it and eventually asks Ueno the same question, which Ueno also denies. Finally, Ueno gives him some advice. First, Tsubaki tries holding Urabe's hand, but she flicks it away. Next, he tries making small talk and asking her about herself. He finds out that she has a thing for scissors. She tells him to hold out a piece of paper so she can demonstrate how well she does with them. In one quick motion, she cuts a pretty pattern into the paper, and Tsubaki is really impressed. Tsubaki tries hugging Urabe from behind, but she whips her scissors out and threatens Tsubaki with them. She tells him to never touch her like that without asking her first. Tsubaki is scared, but Urabe seems to have already forgotten and is back to normal. Tsubaki tries asking Urabe out on a date to the movies, but she refuses. Tsubaki is a little sad that she can't make it and that they never do anything but their walks home together. One evening, they're walking home together, but Tsubaki is acting weird. Urabe asks him numerous times what's bothering him, but he won't tell her. She tastes some of his drool, which somehow shows her that he had a wet dream about her the night before. She gasps and looks at him, blushing. One night, Tsubaki is running late again. He returns to the classroom to grab his things and walks in on Ueno making out with one of their friends, a pretty girl with glasses. Tsubaki is shocked. Ueno begs Tsubaki not to tell anyone. Sure enough, that same day, Tsubaki tells Urabe that he caught them. Urabe doesn't really care about the secret and doesn't seem shocked at all. Instead, she asks Tsubaki if they should kiss too. He's shocked and quickly says yes. He expects a kiss, but instead, Urabe pulls out a glass vial and fills it with her drool. She instructs him to drink it before he goes to bed. That night, Tsubaki goes to bed super early, excited to taste her drool and see what happens. Once he falls asleep, he dreams of them kissing. The next day, Urabe asks Tsubaki if they can kiss each other. Tsubaki shocks her by refusing, insisting they should get to know each other first. She blushes and seems happy that Tsubaki wants to wait. In class, Tsubaki notices one of his classmates staring at Urabe. The classmate follows Urabe outside and asks her to go on a date with him. She tells him he'll get an answer later. On their walk home, Urabe tells Tsubaki about getting asked out as she gives him a taste of her drool. Tsubaki is upset to hear someone asked Urabe out and wants to get involved, but she insists she'll handle it. She goes off, but that night Tsubaki drives himself crazy. He can't understand why Urabe wouldn't tell the classmate that she's already in a relationship. He begins to feel insecure and assumes she is simply going to date the more handsome, popular kid. He shows up to school the next day feeling depressed and rejected. Urabe offers the classmate some of her drool behind the school. She is waiting to see how it affects him, but he doesn't get lovesick the way Tsubaki did. This shows Urabe that Tsubaki is the one for her. When she tells Tsubaki what happened, he's shocked that she offered someone else her drool, but is happy that it didn't work out. At lunch, Tsubaki notices Ueno with a weird look on his face. Ueno is blushing because the school is about to switch to summer uniforms, which means the girls in gym class will be in revealing clothes. Tsubaki starts to blush too when he thinks about Urabe in the uniform. While Tsubaki and Ueno are perving out, Ueno's girlfriend Oka approaches Urabe and asks if she can sit with her. Of course, Urabe says no and goes back to sleep, but everyone is shocked when Oka sits down anyway. Urabe is woken up by the smell of Oka's lunch. Oka sweetly feeds Urabe some pieces of her lunch as everyone watches. On their walk home, Tsubaki questions Urabe about her new friendship with Oka. Urabe doesn't answer and simply gives him his dose of drool, which tastes like the lunch she enjoyed earlier. The taste of her lunch seeps into Tsubaki's dream. The next day, Urabe gets hurt during gym class. Oka helps Urabe to the nurse's office, but the nurse is missing. Oka decides to help Urabe herself and gently takes care of her scraped knee. As Oka turns to leave, Urabe points out that she has a matching scrape on her knee, even though Oka didn't fall down. Urabe gets suspicious and has Oka taste some of her drool. After Oka tastes the drool, Urabe cuts her hand and a matching cut appears on Oka's hand. This means they have a special connection the way Urabe and Tsubaki do. Oka reveals that she spotted Tsubaki consuming some of Urabe's drool the other day, so she knows they are in a relationship. On their walk home, Tsubaki complains about his knee hurting after he has his nightly drool, which makes Urabe laugh. The next day, Oka asks Urabe to try her drool. Oka's drool makes Urabe blush because she realizes Oka has been moving very quickly with her boyfriend, Ueno. A few days later, the boys purposely kick their ball too hard so they have to get it from the girls' side where they are swimming. The boys then take a poll and rate all the girls' bodies. Tsubaki is so horned up from the conversation that he does terribly during the rest of the gym class. That evening, Tsubaki and Urabe head out their daily walk home. It begins to rain and the couple takes shelter under a tree. The moment gives Tsubaki the chance to enjoy Urabe's sweet scent. Urabe reveals that the sweet smell is from her sweat, which she then tells Tsubaki to taste. Of course, Tsubaki enjoys it just as much as he enjoys her drool. Even though the students are now on break, Tsubaki and Urabe make sure to get together every day so Tsubaki doesn't miss his drool. Urabe has to briefly go away to visit her father, and Tsubaki eagerly awaits her return. When she finally gets back, Tsubaki can't believe how tan she is. The two go to the beach together, but all Tsubaki can focus on is Urabe in her two-piece swimsuit. He takes advantage of his time underwater when at the beach to stare at her bare, tanned body. One day, Oka and Tsubaki run into each other in the town and hang out for a bit. When Oka sees Urabe the next day, she tells Urabe all about her conversation with Tsubaki, which really bothers Urabe. She doesn't like the way Oka keeps asking about their relationship. However, the two continue to chat. While walking home one day, Tsubaki informs Urabe that he wants a photo of her to keep in his wallet. He pulls out his old-school camera, but Urabe gets annoyed with the poses he wants her to do and leaves before he can get a good shot. Tsubaki ends up with no photo for his wallet. Just then, Tsubaki is approached by his old crush who asks him on a date. Tsubaki is briefly shocked but turns her down. Urabe overheard the entire thing and seems annoyed. Tsubaki asks her what's bothering her, and she lets him have some drool. As he tastes it, tears come to his eyes, and he realizes Urabe would be sad if he went out with another girl. Tsubaki reminds Urabe that she's the only one for him, and tells her he loves her, which makes her break out in a huge smile. Tsubaki quickly whips out his camera to get the smile on film, but her face quickly falls again. If you like this anime, make sure to let us know so we can do a part 2.